The Toyota Camry has long been one of the most fuel-efficient options in the family sedan class. And now for the 2025 model, we're given hybrid-only powertrains with a 4-cylinder engine. So does that mean increased fuel economy when cruising on the highway? Tonight we find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and tonight we've got the real-world highway fuel economy test on the 2025 Toyota Camry. In this test, we're going to head out on the highway and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour, to get a realistic fuel economy number for this sedan. And before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. This is an XSE model of the all-new Toyota Camry. That means we're featuring some larger, more fancy wheels and a little bit more interior accommodations, also a two-tone roof with this pretty cool paint. I've really liked the look of this car, driving it around so far. Now this XSE model gets a little bit less fuel economy according to the EPA than the more basic LE and SE models, mostly due to the wheels. So whatever we get in this test, you can assume an extra mile per gallon or two at least from a more basic model. But if you do want to see more on the Camry in general, check the link below. We've got a full gamut of reviews with this car. We've got our takeaways, we've got a sound system review, this fuel economy test, an infotainment breakdown. All of that can be found below. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives this Camry 47 miles per gallon on the highway, that test only averages 48 miles per hour. We know there are plenty of people who do much higher speeds than that on the highway for long periods of time, and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect here in the real world. So in order to test that out, we're going to head out tonight on the highway. I have to do this test at night in order to eliminate traffic slowdowns so we can cruise steady state 70 miles per hour. But we're going to head out and do 100 miles, and we're going to come back to the fuel station and fill up at the same pump we started at using the same 3-click fueling method and get a result. Now a few other things to note for the test. Outside temperature will be about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, pretty consistent out here by the coast. Our tire pressures have been set to their door placard 35 psi cold, and we're going to run the climate control at 73 degrees auto. So without any further ado, let us head to the gas station. We put in 2.002 gallons for our first fill. Before starting the engine, we're going to reset the trip computer, GPS, and our trip meter, and we're ready to begin. Yeah, we do have a few different drive modes in here: Eco, Normal, and Sport. We're going to be doing this test in Eco. We're going to take it nice and easy over to the highway. It's about half a mile away, and pick up the test from there. Now, the goal of this test isn't to hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy for the car, but rather a realistic figure. So in order to do that, we're getting up to highway speeds here at a reasonable pace, and I'm going to set the cruise control at a GPS-indicated 71 miles per hour. That should give us an average of about 70 over the whole test. Still no problem getting up to speed, even in Eco mode. Now we don't have any sort of tachometer up here right now. There might be some way to get one up, but it's going to make doing our tach shot a little interesting. In fact, that has been one of the minor annoyances of mine with the new Camry, is that with this hybrid system, there's not even a power indicator screen anymore. Maybe again you can get one up with one of the gauge configurations, but I always liked that with the hybrid systems where you could see, okay, am I in Eco kind of throttle application, or am I bleeding into power? Because then you could kind of see how much throttle you could apply and keep with just electric only driving. It's a little bit louder with the sunroof shade open, so I'm going to close that, quiet it down in here, and it does look like our speedometer is a few miles per hour high. So 74, roughly, 73, let's try settling at 73. Okay, 73 on the dash is giving us 71 on the GPS, so that's where we're going to settle in. And in classic Toyota fashion, setting it at 74 actually gives you 73 miles per hour. We do have Toyota's new lane tracing, or active lane keeping functionality, and as it does in other Toyota products, it should work quite well. We'll report back on that by the end of the drive. And we're going to continue on with the test out this JBL sound system, and catch up with you at the end. In the meantime, enjoy this time lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway fuel economy test here in the Camry. It's an okay car to be in on the highway. I was a little bit disappointed in the road noise coming from the rear, as well as the rattles. There's a rattle that I have not been able to get rid of in the right door, and then a little one in the roof that comes and goes, and then a little one in the left door that comes and goes. And there's a good possibility this is a very early production Camry, so hopefully that would be something that is resolved in later models, but that is taken away from it a little bit. The seats seem comfortable enough. I was decently impressed by the JBL sound system. We're going to do a full breakdown review on that over the next few days, but strong bass, so I like to listen to the members only tracks on that. And other than that, the adaptive cruise control works really well. I did get a few weird situations with the active lane change functionality that I haven't dialed in, but there was one time I was going to change lane to the left, and then it canceled itself, and then sort of jerked the car back to the right. Just did not feel intuitive. And Toyota's adding safety features into their vehicles that make your normal driving feel wrong, if that makes sense. In terms of fuel economy, we've been hovering right around that 43 mile per gallon mark for the last 30 or 40 miles, so the car seems pretty set on that one. A little bit below EPA, but still not a bad figure for this sort of vehicle and for just cruising steady state speeds like this. No sort of tack shot, sorry right lane hog, no tachometer to shoot, so we're just going to have to get this car back to the pump and see what our final numbers are. I actually was able to turn on the tachometer here through the infotainment settings, and you can see we're cruising decently low RPM. That's obviously changing a bunch, but yeah, if you want to have that on, you can enable that through the settings in the gauge cluster. Now, I will say traffic's a little bit heavier. I had to run this on a Thursday night. Traffic's always a little heavier on Thursdays than the Wednesdays that we typically run these tests. So that should favor the car for fuel economy, a little bit of extra drafting. I tried not to foul people as much as I could, but it's virtually unavoidable for a lot of the drive. But we're going to get this back to the pump, fill it all the way up, and then I'm actually going to recap the test tomorrow and wrap things up. The lighting will be better, the footage will be better, and we can really analyze this compared to its predecessor as well as some of its peers. All fueled back up, and after traveling our 100.3 miles, we put in a total of 2.373 gallons of 87 octane here into the Camry. So 103 miles traveled divided by 2.373 is giving us, okay, a little bit lower than the trip readout, 42 miles per gallon. So I think given the nighttime conditions, given the fact the readout was 43, 42 on the pump, we'll give a slight bump to this one, and we're going to give the official number here at 43 miles per gallon for the Toyota Camry front-wheel drive XSE. So still a fairly decent figure, but maybe not quite as much as the EPA says you're going to get. That EPA test has a lot of slowing down, speeding up at a lower average speed, so it makes sense that a hybrid would do a little bit better on that test rather than just steady-state driving. But I do want to go back and check our previous generation Camry hybrid that we tested, and I also want to check the most recent Honda Accords that we tested. I know the only Sonata we've had recently was the N-Line, and that was something mid to low 30s, I believe, so that's not going to be anywhere close to this. But let's check on those other cars. But before we do, let's do a quick range test. 43 miles per gallon times that 13-gallon fuel tank in here is giving you an impressive 550 miles of average cruising range here at highway speeds in the new Camry. Oof. So the 23 Accord hybrid that we tested, that only managed 37 miles per gallon. Now, mind you, that was in a different environment. That was tested in Michigan, but still not nearly as good as the 43 in here. But I recently did the 1.5 turbo. Let's see what that got. 40 MPG from the Accord 1.5 turbo. So Camry's still handily beating both of those with its 43 MPG figure. How about the outgoing Camry? 45 MPG is what we got in the outgoing model. Okay, so I'm not going to claim that these are exact science, perfect back-to-back sort of tests between these two cars, but that is interesting that we're not really seeing any sort of advancement. And part of that is there's only so much more we can do with internal combustion at this point. I mean, it's by nature of how combusting gasoline works in order to create kinetic motion, there's just not too much more efficiency we can achieve here using that sort of technology, and the hybrid's only going to help so much cruising at highway speeds. The 2.5 liter in all the Toyota products is very efficient, and I think with this XSE model, you're just not getting quite as much efficiency as you could have without the hybrid or with some of the base wheels. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Toyota Camry, check the link below. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.